Yeah, great. Speaking of gifts, that's that's where we're going.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been sort of like contemplating about that. It's like, what we've just been talking about just then, um, with feeling oversaturated, like it's like you've been consuming stuff and then you're getting to a point whereby it's like, where am I going with this?
Mm.
Yeah, like so for me, like what I'm connecting that to is like you have to it's like you have to empty out because like you're full. There's a verse about that, I forget, but having to do with the cup becoming full, shaken over, and then overflowing. Um, I think it's related to that in some way,
Mm.
because you need. Though there's some guys have like some technical terms. I think there's a guy who did some work on this and he called it a luck. So it's like you have a luck of what you want, and
Mm.
when you don't have the luck, then you can't strive towards it because then you sort of like there's no need, like you don't have a desire to drive you towards a thing. So you need sort of you need to empty out. You need to empty out
Mm.
some of what you've gathered so that you can create more room to add more things. It's like if you're too full, then there is like there's no space for other stuff.
Mm.
You're basically too full.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
you have to kind of like start giving, and I think that's where it's linking back for me to the gifts, um, because if you're full, then it means you have things to give, and if you have things to give and you're not giving them, maybe that's a problem. and
That's so
so
good.
and so yeah, so it's like I feel like we have to, like, when you notice that, it's also a signal to actually start doing more giving work, like giving of yourself, like really uh, putting putting what you have out there. Because in the process, then you can also start to see, you could say, like the gaps that you had that you thought were not gaps. In the process of trying to give, then you can see the empty gifts that you
Mm.
have, and then now you know what you need to fill up more because you hadn't checked them before. So you didn't know they were empty, or you didn't know they were not full yet, or they were not ready to be given. And so in the process, I think that's why I think one of those sayings about the best way to learn something is to teach it. Because then, as you try to teach, as you try to articulate all the detail of the thing, then you all of a sudden you hit your limits. You get to that place
Mm.
whereby, oh, I thought I knew more than this, and I turns out I don't. So okay, which then becomes an opportunity. It's like, okay, great, now I have more to learn, and uh, as you cultivate those gifts, then you start to get better at, you know, having more wholesome gifts to give. Um, yeah, I don't know. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I really appreciate that because I'm feeling the more that I'm acquiring knowledge, there is also this insatiable desire to give it away. And it changed over time for me, but I think initially people always seek out knowledge because they want to be able to give something. They want to recognize that one, they have value, and there is a desire to do something. So that's what drives us to go and learn and be, gleaning from other people and steward well what we're given. And I think with that, we can get caught up in a trap where we're just learning all the time. And it's just, you reach that saturation point. And I think it's important if you to be aware, oh, I've reached a saturation point. I wonder what it is that I need to get to do right now, and not continuing that cycle of constantly acquiring or absorbing. And so I suddenly feel myself now being like, okay, I need to give something. Like I'm just dying to give something to someone and make it seem real, because knowledge can be great. But I think if you're in the process or have a desire to give of something of your life and make something um, of your life that counts for others, alleviate the pain in the world or be a source of help and create a product or whatever it is, I think that there is this need for you then to find your people. Like I'm in the space of, I've had so much knowledge, I've done so many courses, and now I just want to find my people. Who is it that I can serve? Who is it that I can give to? Because I know that in giving, I'll be able to recognize, as you mentioned, oh, this is where my unique talents and gifting lies. Or have I really learned what I've been exposed to all this time? Have I really appreciated in terms of understanding the content and being able to utilize it? And as you mentioned, if you're teaching it, then you can recognize more easily, oh, I actually do understand this, or it's applicable, or this is how it works, rather than I'm just absorbing information. It's in the application that I can then validate that knowledge that I've acquired. And I think it's so important to know that your life exists for more than yourself. And I had this revelation yesterday where, over the last few weeks, but it really just came to me yesterday in a more complete picture, where I was like, wait, I read this book by Joe Dispenza, and he talks about the breaking the habit of being yourself. And then I was listening to his talk with Lewis Howe, and he describes in there the science of breaking our habits, because we are not essentially taught within our culture, within our society, within our homes, within our educational structures. We're not taught how to form the person that we want to become. So he talks through all this science, and one thing that really grabbed me is that when you're in the pursuit of anything and you're pursuing to give of yourself and be a service and to find your purpose, because I truly do believe that's how you find your purpose, is in the desire to give, then you find your people and you find your purpose. But he says how you shouldn't value or place a little weight on what I can acquire, or the people I can help, as much as you place weight on who am I becoming. So when I understand who am I becoming, or who is it that I want to become, when I can form that picture and be clear on values and beliefs and all of that, and work intentionally on achieving those, then who I'm becoming is going to attract to me the right people. It's going to attract to me the vision that I was born to do, because all of my intrinsic designs are geared towards that. Like I'm designed differently to every other person. I'm unique in my gifting and my ability to be and exist in this world. And so if I focus on who am I actually becoming, or who do I want to become, I think out of that, then you attract the things that are part of your blessing. And you're able to give more whole to others as well, because for such a long time for me, it was about, oh gosh, I just got to make ends meet, or I got to make all this money so I can alleviate some of the pressure that I feel right now being a single mom, or alleviate some of the suffering because, it's a grind going to work and feeling stuck in your job. But when he talked about who are you becoming, focus on who you're becoming, and then cultivate those characteristics by meditating on them, by embracing or wearing them. You through meditation, you're taught how to put those on and just be that person. And I found that really powerful, that you shouldn't be seeking what it is that I can acquire, what it is that I can get. If I give, this is what's going to come out to me. But it's like, who are you trying to become? And I think the Bible really talks about this a lot. Jesus was never in the business of gaining. Like you never see him asking for anything, and he was never really doing anything out of, oh, this is going to happen or that's going to happen for me. It was always like he was in a situation where you could see that he was becoming what people needed. Like, right? He was the healer, he was the giver, he was the provider, he was the strength, whatever it was, he was there. And I think that's key. We need to become more like Christ, as the Bible speaks, but also focus on how does that look like in my life? What are the
Mm.
characteristics I truly value? Yeah.
Yeah, that was so good, so good. So many things in there. Wow. Um, yeah, I love what you said about finding my people. Um, I don't know if I told you about this. Like, I got to a point, a few years back where I, I did, I think I described it as I made a friend list. It's like I realized I had to prioritize how much uh, time I was allocating to the friend relationships I had, and what were the priorities and what was not so much of a priority. Um, and I did that partly because you know I started to notice that there are people every time I interact with them, I'm growing, I'm learning. It's like there's just so much there. I can just live in their presence and it's wonderful. And then I also noticed like for some other people where I we don't have that. It's like all we're going on about is whether sports, politics, and sometimes that's great conversation too. Um, but in comparison to what else is possible or what else I could be, learning or what other gifts I could be partaking of, whether sports and politics did not seem, uh, you'd say as tasty, right?
Mm.
They were not, in comparison, they were not.
Mm.
And so I was like, I need more of these other kinds of gifts, whereby we, we get like into like a really deep conversation, a deep exploration with with another, and we go on this journey and learn new things together. It's like that drew me in more than uh, you'd say politics, weather, and the rest. So then I made an intentional choice to follow that, and I was like, okay, every time I noticed that I was having an hour-long conversation with somebody and I didn't want it to end, and we're getting into that flowy kind of conversation,
Mm.
then I wanted to be there more. So I started to prioritize those conversations. So I would reach out to these people more, so, try to find time, start to make plans,
Mm.
try to work really hard to prioritize making that time because it would just rejuvenate me. I'll just become alive in
Mm.
a different way that I didn't know. It's like I went to meet them as me, I left as another person.
Wow.
It was wonderful. And at every time I would be motivated to give. Like I would be driven to all these new insights that now I wanted to share. And so I was like, okay, yeah, it does work. We have our people, right? We do have our people. So,
Yes.
so when you
Wow.
shared that, it really deeply resonated. And for these people, you're not self-conscious around them. You just
Mm.
want, it's like there's no hesitation because it's sort of like you're in good company. It's like you're in good
Mm.
company when you're with them, and you want to be there. And so yeah, that deeply resonates. And you touched on something there about, that I forgot the name of the author, but they wrote about breaking the habit of being yourself. That was so
Mm.
good. It's like sometimes you you may not get the time to look back at
Mm.
at who you are or who you're being. And um, I lived that way for a very long time, and you sort of like get stuck in these ways that don't work for you, but you don't
Mm.
know that they don't work for you. It's like they don't work for you. You're just not aware of it, and you keep repeating the things that don't work for you. and but it's more like in a surrender to them. It's like you hear somebody say it's like, "Why have you noticed that maybe instead of doing this, you're doing that instead?" And they go like, "Yeah, but I don't know. I can't. I just I I, I can't find the time to do it or to try and figure out a different way. It's just too
Mm,
much for me." And and we do this like easily. It's so easy to just
mm.
get trapped in that way, and you just start suffering consequences that then you whinge about later. Right? It's so contradictory. Like, hey, oh my God, I really struggle. Like you'll see this especially a lot with eating habits, right? Like poor
Mm,
eating habits. It's like, oh my God, I'm struggling. I've you know, I've put on so much weight, right? And I don't know what to do. I've been going to the gym and it's not working for me. But you do know the research says that if you need to manage your weight, 80% of the work happens in the food. And they go like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah,
Mm,
the exercise is not the problem.
mm,
There's stuff you're eating that you don't need to be eating. And unfortunately, until you do something about that, it's not going to work. Uh,
mm,
but it's never like a surprise. It's never a surprise. It's more like a disappointment, like a grieving in a way. It's like, oh, you're saying that thing again, the thing that I know I need to be doing, but I don't want to do, or I'm not comfortable doing yet. And it's a struggle. Uh,
mm,
but to overcome that, you do actually have to break that habit of being
mm,
who you always are. I like to say this thing about
mm,
we once spoke with some guys about about being perfect, right? And it's like you can never be perfect until you stop progressing, right? And I think we've spoken about this before. Like every day you're becoming, whoever you are plus one.
mm,
You're adding on who you're becoming today. And I think you can't do that if you're remaining who you are, right? And if you don't break out of that, then you sort of like gradually start to get stuck in many ways.
mm,
You start to feel it. You feel like life is starting to become like, you know, mundane for you. It's not opening up in any way. You just it's sort of like losing. You'd say life is losing flavor, if I may put it that way, right? Like it's starting to
mm,
slowly lose its flavor, and yeah, you then get into the questions, right? Like who am I, right? Do I
mm,
fit in this life? Is it the one that I wanted? And usually we'll go to our dreams. It's like, oh, I'm not getting my dreams. I'm not getting my dreams. And it must be because of all these reasons. But I think you raised a better question there of like, who am I being, right? Who am I
mm,
being, and who should I be? Uh, and it's in the process of noticing that you actually can work towards becoming
mm,
a certain kind of person, of course at the cost of the work. But
mm,
you can, like, it's doable, rather than just acknowledging that you're finished, you're finished product. Because then if you finish product, then that's a bit sad. Like that's it. It's like you're at the end of it. You're
mm.
you're done. I like to joke like the perfect people are the dead ones because they can't really improve themselves.
Yeah.
Uh, but but it's truly sad because that's it. It's like the moment you come to the end of your life, that's it. There's nothing really you can do. You, But while you still have
Mm,
life, there is something you could do. There is something you could do about that. And I think focusing on what you're being, what you're becoming is really, really fundamental to that. And we all have to be doing this. And I think it's the correct orientation towards achieving our dreams, our purpose, and whatever we want to become, like cultivating that. We have to uh, not focus on what we want to get. Viveki, in his work, he talks about the having mode and the being mode. And it's like in a the modern capitalistic culture, people want to have stuff, right? Like
Mm.
there's a lot of consumerism that's captured
Mm.
us, and so we're always wanting to have things. It's like, oh, I want to have that. I want to have this. I want to have a phone. I want to have this car. I want to get this. Um, but actually, when we invest more in those having relationships, we start to develop a perspective of just wanting to have stuff, like to just want to consume stuff. And so you start to, relate to people in that way. It's like, oh, what am I, wanna, or what am I gonna get from her, right? Come, she giving me some money, or you know, what am I getting? If I'm not getting anything, I'm not gonna give you time of day. I'm just gonna if I'm not getting something tangible, that is, right? Like I'm just gonna move to
Mm.
go and find something that is something material that I can get from someone. Am I getting money? Am I getting something, whatever it is that I want to get? Um, but that is not the essence of it. Like relation is the essence. It's like how am I being with with this
Mm.
person? What is my relationship? And when you start to really focus on the relationships, you start to see that it sort of like opens up. You start to see the mystery of what it is you're trying to relate to. It's like even with food, let's say, or even with objects, if you actually just try to understand the relationship you have with them, all of a sudden you stop undermining them or just treating them as a thing, right? Because then all of a sudden it's something different. Now you know how it's changing you, but you also know how you're changing it. And so it's not just something static. It's not just something dead that it's like, oh, this is just food. I ate it. It's like, no, no. It sort of now becomes a bit deeper. Like, if let's say you're in a diet and you make your own food, now you know how seriously you take that stuff. You read the list of ingredients. You want to know what's in the ingredients. Even when you prepare them, you take extra care. You you prepare them a
Mm.
certain way, you organize, you care about how long it's cooking for, not to get overcooked, not to be under, it has to taste a certain way. And then even when you do all that, you want to sit down and relax, be respectful of your meal before you and have it gently and really enjoy it so it can really nourish you. And the moment you start to do that, your relationship with food starts to change.
Mm.
But before, if it's just I just grab and stuff my face with it, then you have a different kind of relationship with it because then you
Mm.
don't respect the food, then the food doesn't respect you, and you guys fall out in a way that sort of like ends up with you ballooning or something, and
Yeah.
you don't want that, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's it.
yeah, so this is how the thoughts that came up for me. Wow, very good. Thank you. I'll give it back to
Yeah,
you.
I love that. And I love how you brought it full circle because you started talking about your friends initially and saying how, when you're connecting with people who you really feel like, man, there's just something here that both of us are getting. Like there's something that is igniting within me my creativity and allowing us to focus on things outside of ourselves. So when we meet, we're not concerned about keeping status quo, dressing a certain way. We're not concerned with them looking at us and thinking, oh, they're behaving this and that. Because it's like when I meet with you, I don't pay attention except to compliment you. Oh, you look great, or you have a haircut. But apart from that, it's like we just connect on this intellectual level and it allows us to have these conversations that truly changed my life over the last however many years. And I think when you find those people, then you know and you're closer to what it is that your purpose is. Because if you've got people who ignite within you, the passions and the things of you that are there and waiting to be seen, you see them come out in those conversations, right?
Mm.
And so it's really giving to you when you have people around you that do that. It gives you life, it gives you energy. You never walk away being tired. And it's so cool how you did, you know, you sort of made a list and you identified who are the people that really do that for me and who are the people that I'm just like, you know, we spend an hour shopping and I'm exhausted and I'm not really looking forward to next time because my bank account is empty and physically I'm tired, mentally I'm exhausted, but we didn't really do much. It wasn't that exciting. It was nothing to write home about. Um, and it's important, just like that, to be intentional with everything we do because our time is so limited. So the people in our world, in our sphere, should really be chosen carefully. And I've learned this over the last few years is that you pick the people that you know give you or allow you to be the best self that you can be. Because in every moment you're being something, right? And so even the person in the coffin is becoming something. They're constantly moving because to disintegrate, once you get into the earth, it doesn't begin there. It's already begun upon the point of dying, right? The body's disintegrating, the organs are dying. And so I think it's really important to pay attention to what is there in life that allows you to be better. Um, and it starts with identifying what do I want to become? Because if you just haphazardly, join people because perhaps I used to in the past perceive that, this person has so much influence. Maybe if I'm in their corner, like I'm going to be so important. Well, you need to clearly identify what does that give you, right? If there's a desire for you to be important, what does that give you? Like, does it propel you in life? Does it give you a better job? Does it give you a better status? And what I found is that it never gives you anything that you don't already have, right? You need to identify what am I trying to become that I am not already, right? Because when you're attracting without intention and you're attracting haphazardly, you're going to attract within the bounds of the lack or the limitations that you already hold, right? Because the energy you put out is the energy you get back in. And so when you begin to ask questions and it's like, who am I wanting to attract or what am I wanting to attract? Who am I wanting to become? Then those questions will begin to then develop in you and set an intention towards the things that you desire that then will be attracted to you. Because as I seek to become and I'm intentional, which means that I'm paying attention to my thoughts, I'm paying attention to my feelings. And you mentioned or gave that really beautiful picture about the food, right? And I've seen this in my own life. Like I used to hate boot camping, boot camps where you work out, right? And you're going hardcore. And, I used to think, oh my gosh, I just need to lose weight. Like I'll be so glad when this challenge is over. I'm dying over here. But I didn't really pay attention to my food because I was so hard, right? And so over time, I noticed that my relationship began to change as I began to appreciate how both diet and exercise work in tandem. And they really help to bring about that dream of your, sustained weight. You don't want to be fluctuating every year. But they really work together well to allow you to maintain stability within that area. And once I did that, I found myself, as you described, appreciating the food, appreciating the ingredients, and taking time to be like, okay, I'm going to plan my meals. I'm going to pay attention to what it is that I put into my body. What are my goals? Oh, my goal is to be strong, or my goal is to maintain my stable weight within this weight window. Then I'm going to be really intentional with that. Nothing happens without intentionality. Nothing in life happens without intentionality. And I think it's really important to pay attention to what your intentions are because based on your intentions, and if there's a lack thereof, you're going to attract according to that. So I really love the visual you gave. I thought that was brilliant. And it's kind of like a full circle, talking about, well, who are the people in my life or within my sphere of influence? That is as important as what am I putting into my body? Both knowledge and the food that we consume, the things that we put on our skin, the things that are surrounding us in our environment. All of that is about who am I going to, who am I becoming? So if you look in an environment and you don't like where you are, you need to recognize that the decisions you made earlier have led you to where you are. And when you truly accept and appreciate that, you can take responsibility and begin to shift that in the direction you want to go.
Oh yeah, totally. That exactly how it works. I mean, like, you you're sharing something there about how when you when you really get someone you connect with, it's like there's a lot of truth that shines through. It's like it's and it's so humbling, right? It's
Mm,
you you just feel the truth. It's like it's right there, and it's not in the way the it's not in the words they're saying, but it's like in their presence and what
mm,
the meaning they're trying to put across. It's like you just feel that truth, and it sort of impacts you in a way that you're not, how do I put it? Like you're not challenged, like in a negative sense, but it's more inspiration.
mm,
Like you just feel inspired and energized in a way that, oh my God, like, look, I used to think I knew this thing in this way, but from where they're looking at it from, there's another way I can look at it, and
mm,
it helps me not be stuck, uh, you know, at all in that way. So it's really beautiful. Like, and I think it's learning to hold. You know, you touched on it there. You mentioned allowing you to be your best self.
mm,
Yeah, I think that's the key to it. Like the more we do that, we have to anticipate the best of the other. It's like we need to do that to allow them. I was having a chat with a friend over the weekend, and we slightly spoke about this because I was trying to describe how it is that you come to share the same perspective, right? Like
mm,
it it's almost like when you think about it logically, it's impossible. Like these some philosophers have worked on this and tried to actually draw the use some mathematical ways to actually prove that this is not possible. And if you think of it in that way, in a logical sense, it's not. However, we can share our experiences and while enabling another to fully paint out what they mean and what they experience, right? Um, and I was saying my friends like, well, the first premise you need to first acknowledge is that their experience of their reality is real. Like,
mm,
it's not unreal. It is real.
mhm,
But
mm,
because we quickly conflate reality with our morals, right? Like let's say if if uh, if let's say for lack of a good example, I believe that maybe wearing black shirts is immoral, right? So, but in your reality right now, you're wearing a black shirt. So I need to acknowledge that you're wearing a black shirt, even if it's not something that I like, right? Even if it's not a reality that I will. It's like I will never wear
mm,
black shirts. Yeah, but where the wearing of black shirts is a real thing, and people actually
mm,
do this, and I have to accept that and accept the way you present yourself as someone wearing a black shirt. Now, I don't have to start wearing black shirts if I don't want to, if I don't believe it. Like I have moral challenges with it. I'm not being challenged to do that. But
mm,
I also should not dismiss your reality. Like I have to accept your reality and hold the space for it. Now, by doing that, it allows me to see from where you are. Now, I don't have to live there, but I can see from where you are. The example I was using with my friend was like, look up to the sky. What do you see? And he looked up and he tells me, I see a cloudy sky, right? And so if I were to say that I have heard you tell me that you see a cloudy blue sky, you would quickly correct me that you didn't say anything about blue, which is which is good because then
mm,
now you can start to see my biases coming through as I start to add them into my interpretation of what you're presenting. And But if I vocalize them and tell you back what what I've heard or what I've understood from what you've shared, then you can correct me and bring me closer to where I actually need to look at it from, and in a way that is agreeable to you. And once we get to that spot, then we don't need to be combative. We don't need to fight. We just need to explore whatever we can explore together without um, completely trying to just become the other person while remaining ourselves, our separate selves, but being
Mm.
respectful to each other and going along together. And I think even describing it that way, it sort of sounds a bit sophisticated, but it's something very, very possible. Like it's something very, very easy. Uh, and I always go to parenting problems, but you'll notice this. Like if you're a parent and you have a baby and they cry, it's like they're not trying to challenge you with their cry. They're just trying to
Yeah,
communicate. Yeah.
yeah.
But you may misinterpret their communication and think it's a challenge. And you could get angry at them and start, going off and, being mean to them. But they at that point they can't even they have no intention. They just
Mm.
transmit data. But
Mm.
you could imagine intention for them. It's like, that cry sounds like a mean cry. It's like you're trying to say something to me. Are you saying something about me? It's like, poor little fellow cannot even speak, right? They can't even think. But it's easy for us to feed it in there and then respond to it
Mm.
and then react to it. And then you're going like, come on. Um, yeah, so I think we have to do that. We have to hold a space for the best of ourselves and the best of the other. It's like when we see them, we have to acknowledge that uh, they're just trying to be the best they can be. Like
Mm.
let's not dismiss that because the moment you dismiss it, the moment I say wearing black shirts is evil, it's like all of a sudden I've given you a bias. I've given you something to fight back about. Then now you're gonna have to. It's like I've put you in a situation where you have to defend black shirts now. It's like
Mm.
everything else doesn't matter. You don't matter. Being here doesn't matter. Being good doesn't matter. All that matters is the statement that I made. And now I put, we now all pay our attention to that. Oh, it hijacks our attention, and then now we go to war, trying to justify that, trying to unpack it and resolve it. But actually, it's just not something we should do. It's like a trap. It's like a
Mm.
trap that we're being drawn in unnecessarily instead of focusing on appreciating, um, the beauty that is before us, the truth that's before us, and
Mm.
trying to participate in that even more and more. And this reminds me of, I think we spoke about this before, like, and you touched on it as well. When Jesus would go out there to the outcasts, he would give of himself what they needed.
Mm.
It's like, oh, you need to see. All right, let's work on that. Right? Or you need to go catch some fish. Right? We'll go work on that. Or you wanna
Mm.
improve how you collect taxes? Great. I will do my best to help you do that the best way you can. And every time he would do that, he would inspire them to become better than they were. And
Mm.
now all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, there's something about this guy. It's like, I just want to be like him. And he did not command them to be like him.
Yes.
No, he didn't. He just
Mm.
showed them, he revealed himself to them, and they loved what they saw, and they just wanted to be like him. And just like we still want to do that these days, because, I mean, what's better than that? I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything better than that, right?
Wow.
But yes,
I
I'll,
love
I'll, I'll
that.
pass it back to you.
Yeah, I love that because if you are there to serve, I think that's our main purpose. And Jesus did that really well. And when you're serving, you're becoming I had this image of like you're becoming less reliant on self and you're becoming reliant on the higher good, right? Because the higher good will take care of your needs, but you're no longer focused on your needs. And that which you focus on, that's who you attract. And so if I'm focusing on the other people's needs, then I am able to give according to their needs and give life to people, and they will want to help me. They will want to be there for me the same way because they're like, oh wow, you're so giving or you're so sacrificial, and you're showing up for me, and that really matters to people. um, and I think there's something to be said about how we um, view our relationship with others. You spoke about how, when I'm with others, I'm holding space for them. It's a privilege to have people in our lives because they allow us to refine who we are. And it's a privilege to have people, and I think we should all strive to have others that challenge us. You should always have people in your life that challenge you, because if they don't challenge you, then you'll perceive that what you know and who you are and what you've achieved is enough. And that is not the aim. You're constantly required to grow, and you're constantly required to take responsibility for what happens in your life and how, what happens in your life and how it comes about in your life. So my intentions need to be set for the day. What am I going to attract today? How the things that I desire happen is not up to me. It's up to the creative power, if I believe in God or the universe. But essentially, I'm aligning myself with my purpose, and I'm aligning and saying yes to reliance on something greater than me. So I can be the best version of what I was designed to be and give to others out of that. And I think that's the aim in life. And so when I'm in the midst of those who challenge me, then I can take those questions to myself and go, okay, why did I feel annoyance there? And what can I learn from this? And the greater insight within you will always reveal answers to you. And it will allow you to refine yourself and to be better and to be stronger and to be wiser. And I want that. I want to be that person that constantly grows and transcends. That's my vision. That's my target that I'm aiming towards. And I want to create space where people will be valued and appreciated, as you mentioned, to hold space. I want to create space for people to also do that. I want to have those people that challenge me within my sphere and allow them, because they see from a different perspective, allow them the privilege to help me to see from a different perspective. Why? Because if I do that, I've just saved myself thousands of dollars that I could have, invested in a university degree to help me to see differently or to be better, or a coaching course or whatever. But it's the people in your very life that can best refine you, because what you have attracted is also what you need to pay attention to, right? If I have people around me that are constantly annoying, I need to ask myself, why am I constantly annoyed? Because it's often not on the outside of you that the issue lies, right? It's within you. Why am I reacting to that? I can't control what people do, but I can control how I respond and how I show up. And so I think it's a privilege when we have people who challenge us. And I think it's nice when you're in a room with people who know more than you and you're like, okay, I can just be better, but this is the right room for me because they're going to give me knowledge that I didn't have before. This is fantastic. And it gets you excited. And when you begin to view it from that perspective, then you're more likely to be open to people and circumstances that will elevate where you're going and that will allow and propel you into the destiny that you desire, but could never really see to fruition, right? Because it takes a leap of faith and it takes a lot of openness. You have to take a risk to open yourself to people, and it's, humbling when someone says you're wrong, and you have to face that and you have to take that back with you and be like, okay, what can I do to be better, instead of sulking. It's easy to sulk. And you spoke about the tension too earlier about, that person that's trying to lose weight, right? And they're just really struggling. It's a struggle. But one thing that Tracy Hensel says in her podcast is that you choose your heart. If you want to stay where you are and you're complaining about your weight, well, that's your heart, right? That's the hard stuff you have to put up every single day. You're going to have to put up with your weight for the rest of your life. But if you choose to then switch and be better and improve your health by eating properly or paying attention to what you're putting in your body and being more conscious with your choices, then that's your heart. Both are heart, but you choose your heart. And it's the power of choice that you can begin to really shift your life and transcend and allow things to come into your life that elevate the way you live and allow you to live the life that you deserve and you desire, right? Because we're all striving for that. And I think, yeah, when you're in service to others as well, like giving of yourself, when you truly begin to understand that, and I really had to listen to this over and over again, like, what is it that makes people successful? It's the ability to see the needs of others as greater than their own. That's my quote. I wrote that. It's the ability to see the needs of others above your own, and to really then begin to ask, how can I give to this person? How can I alleviate their pain or stress? If I have a friend, for example, something simple that we can do is, I have a friend and she's really struggling financially, but she really enjoys coffee. Well, I'm going to buy her a coffee, right? It's not a big thing to do. It costs me $5 maybe. It's not a big thing, but it makes someone's day. Or, you could help with different things that within which your skills might lie, right? You may be able to design something that they're not able to design to make their life easier. But when you're in service to others and no longer concerned about your own needs, that's when your needs or the problems and difficulties and the struggles in your life really begin to minimize. It's like, oh, that's not a struggle. I'll be fine. Like something will happen and it'll be fine. I'm going to focus on what my mission is. How do I give to others? How do I eliminate my focus or downplay my focus on things around me, things that annoy me? And really, I learned this too. Listening to Joe Dispenza, he describes how our mind shifts. And I was listening on Netflix as well. They have these this series about how the mind or brain works. And I thought it was really fascinating is that when I'm focused on my problems and when I'm really focused on the things that are negative and terrible in my life, my creative center actually shuts down. I'm not able to create solutions. So if I'm not able to create solutions, what's the point of focusing on my problems? Like I'm not going to solve them, right? And so if I'm focusing on someone else's problem and I'm like, oh, I know a solution for that, then my creativity begins to rise. And with my creativity rising, then there's potential. And because I'm creating potential for someone else, potential comes to me because that's what I'm attracting. I'm attracting that potential because I'm aligning with the greater good and doing greater good, right? I think that's so key. We need to begin to really shift our mind, begin to really, the Bible talks about meditating. Meditate on that which is good and admirable and lovely and kind, all the things. When you meditate on those things, they're the things that flow into your life. And I've had to learn this the really hard way, and I've really had to pace myself. And when you begin to shift your mental thinking, that's really difficult because your brain and your body have been aligned and in sync, and when you have gone on autopilot for so long, your body is actually the brain. Your body's actually doing all the things. Like when people say, I drove to work, but I can't tell you exactly what happened on the road, or I don't really recall how I got here. I just know that it's the same route I take every single day and I get here safe and blah, blah. That's because you're on autopilot. And when you're autopilot, you're not really having to think about every single turn. You've done this so many times. And that's what we've done with our behaviors is that we've done this thing so many times, repeated these harmful behaviors that when we have to undo them, the body and the mind are now out of sync. And it's really there's this disparity we're creating. And so you're going to feel your body react. You're going to feel your brain react. You're going to have the thoughts of, no, just go back to yourself. Come on, you don't need this. This is too hard. Just sit on the couch again, have those chips, chill. Like, just take it easy. You've had such a long day. It's like with me, it's like, you don't have to mark anymore. You don't have to do work. You're working from home. You just have a nap, and a nap turns into 5 hours. And, don't know the end of it. So it's like, no, hold on. What did I promise myself I wanted to achieve? What is it that I want to achieve today? What is it I want to achieve with my weight? What is it that I want to achieve with my work? Let's focus on that. How can I get that done most efficiently? Because I know that when I do this, I'm going to get to where I want to be. And so that uncomfortable period and season, I think that's a tension that should be valued because in the tension you grow. It's not in the complacency, it's not in the comfort, it's in the tension. And so as I value this tension, then I can take on greater tension because I believe that we're always meant to go to higher levels, but they require that tension, that constant change, and that constant exchange of thoughts. I'm going to exchange a bad thought with a good thought. I'm going to exchange a bad habit with a good habit. You got to replace it with something so your your ecosystem knows and has routes to access the things that you wanted to allow you to live your best self. Because if I take something out, it's like smoking. I take smoking out, but then I need to do something with my hands, right? Because I've been so used to holding that. And so if I take that out, I need to find something. And when I do, it makes me more successful in sustaining that new habit. And so I just, yeah, I really love that you touched on the aspects of what it takes to really refine who we are becoming. You're constantly becoming something. And I'm really fascinated by that. I'm fascinated that our brains have the ability to, due to neuroplasticity and the understanding we have in that, we can change almost any programming. And that's so empowering.
Oh yeah, it is. It is so empowering, and I think that's, among many things, like that's one of our, uh, you'd say, core competences for being here, I guess.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's like, wow, you've shared quite a few beautiful insights in there, and I don't even know which one to start with, but
I'm so sorry.
yeah, no, no, it's great. It's all wonderful. But one of the things that was coming up for me while you're sharing was um Viveki speaks about reciprocal opening. Um, he he says, I think he used it as I don't remember exactly the definition he was talking about, but it had to do something with love. And he said, uh, you that which you love um, is is really what you want to put above yourself, sort of. At least that's how I interpreted it. And he described what that means is you when you fall in a loving relationship, it's because you the person or maybe the thing that you're in love with is continuously opening up to you. And as it does that, you find yourself opening yourself to it. And so it's like it's
Mm.
this reciprocal opening that's continually happening, and it's drawing both of you closer into each other such that you sort of like you're ever exploring the mystery of each other, if I may put it that way.
Mm.
And why I bring that up is like you touched a bit on you have to sort of like seek to become better than who you were. It's like you have to go,
Mm.
you have to keep becoming more and more, right? Like you have to become better. You can't just
Mm.
remain the same. You have to become. And you mentioned the getting having people in your life that challenge you to do that, because as they do that, uh, as you open yourself up, as you know, your gaps will be exposed, right? And you
Mm.
need people who are gonna tell you what those gaps are. Because, I mean, if you could see them yourself, then you'd probably fix them. But the reason they're there is like you fixed everything you can, right? You've already fixed everything you can. And these
Mm.
gaps still remain. So you do need people in your life who will tell you that. Of course, with some kindness and grace. So you're able to know how much you need to do. I mean, people try to do it with just throwing at you lots of truth, like, concentrated truths, like, you are a terrible person. You have to work on that. It's like, okay. uh, I guess I'll forget the terrible but and focus on what I need to work on. Um, but yeah, you have a lot of that happening, and I think um, it's really, really important to have some feedback on that, on what you need to work on, and how you can grow, and how you can continue becoming better. And if we all really actually start to do that for each other, then the world just becomes a better place. And
Mm.
these gifts that we all have, we can all now start sharing them. It's like I'm a strong believer of that. It's like, even having these conversations, I really believe that everybody has immense wisdom within them. Um, it's just difficult to demonstrate and articulate. And I hope that,
Mm.
the more conversations, like through these kinds of conversations, we can get to some of those gifts. We can get to learn some of those perspectives and, you know, get that wisdom out, right?
Mm.
Because strangely, I
Mm.
find that the more I speak to people, like the thing we are talking about earlier about teaching, right? Like the more you speak to people about things that you're trying to understand, the better you understand them. And I have this friend, she's always challenging me with these life scenarios, these, conundrums that, sometimes her friends are dealing with or she's dealing with. And we chat through them and chat through them. And we've always like we interact mostly on chat. Um, Never calls or anything, just chat. And the threads are really long. Um, However, one time she asked me and goes like, "But why do you, why is this relationship important for you? Because, considering how long we've chatted, it's like you seem to take this interaction seriously." And I was telling them like it's not it's not something that I am doing, you'd say, unintentionally. Because what I'm participating for is to learn how to deal with these kinds of conundrums. And she's very
Mm.
good at presenting like really good, challenging questions. Because some of them go like, that should be something that's obvious. Like you should really know that, right? But look, let's have a go at trying to unpack it and articulate and
Mm.
see where it goes. And in the process, I get to learn so much, right? And
Ah.
sometimes, she would ask me for advice and about something that I've never experienced, but I can give an opinion, right? And she's this kind of person who will actually go and try it out and then come give me feedback. It's like, you know what? I tried the thing you suggested and it didn't work. And that's a learning for me as well, because then now I know what doesn't work. But,
Mm.
but sometimes it will be something that worked, and then now I learned something new. And from the other side, I think maybe my experience would not be privy to them because they would be like, it's kind of like how you chat with a chatbot, probably. It's like, ChatGPT, give me this, and then ChatGPT gives you some options. I mean, ChatGPT, you probably will not have an experience, but if it's a real person, at some point, you're going to wonder, what's going on with them, right? And I guess that's where that was coming from. Yeah, we did. I was telling her, in the interaction, that's where all the magic is. The magic is all in the interaction. There's so much on offer because if I have to like really solve a problem, I have to look within and see, what do I have already to work with and what can I reuse? And in the process, I'm going to look at things that I'm also struggling with. And I will
Mm.
also be reminded to work on those things. And so it's really great to have good people. It's really
Mm.
good. It's
Yeah.
really good to have
Yeah.
good people. Yeah.
I appreciate that you have, and as I mentioned earlier, it's so important to have those people with those questions and the people that challenge you. And I love the fact that you have this trait that you always want to help, right? You want to be able to solve something for someone or help them with their question and give them some strategies. And I think that's at the core of who you are. Like that's you are very giving and very um, you're the type of person who focuses on other people's problems and you want to alleviate and bring some resolution to them for a better quality of life that you know they can have. And that's really cool, right? Because we're all suffering, everyone's suffering. And if we isolate ourselves, then we make the suffering even worse. We actually magnify the suffering. We also become a society that dismisses the very core of why we were created, and that is, to come together. We were created to form communities and to live together, to thrive together. And so I think it's really key to nurture the right relationships. And there are seasons, right? Sometimes you have people for a season. You don't have to keep people forever. And it's important to recognize those seasons and know when it's time to let go, because we can get stuck in this, it's kind of pleasant, but when you reach a point of like, oh, there's just something that's no longer giving in this relationship, and I really need to, do something different. And I think it's important to take responsibility for yourself to go higher, right?
Mm.
Don't waste time on relationships that no longer give. And in particular, those relationships that really sap away at your energy or resources that you're, meant to give somewhere where it's needed. So don't overindulge people that don't deserve your energy and your gifting. Know when it's time to let go, and always remember that with every relationship and every adventure, there's a season. I don't believe that anything lasts forever. Like, I've not seen people, in friendship stay together for 40 years. Like, I appreciate if you know your, some people for a long time, but knowing and being in relationship and actively communicating and connecting, that's a different level of doing life together, right? So I can know people for a very long time, and they're on my Facebook page. They sit neatly there and they're safe. I can always go back and see when they're active and things, but I don't necessarily interact with them. And especially if you're a person who wants to grow themselves, pick those relationships that really help you to thrive as a person, to be the best version of you. Don't pick according to your ego. Your ego has to die. And that's why it's important to be amongst people who are better than you, people who challenge you. That's really important, because our ego gets in the way of a lot of our breakthrough. So let the ego go, which is part of your pride. Let that go. Okay. And then know that there's a time and a season. And how am I going to show up in this time and season? One of the things I learned recently is that I would reach this point. For example, there are leaders in our church at the moment who really impacted my life in more ways than I imagined. And they are leaving. They just made an announcement. And I found myself uncontrollably crying, uncontrollably. Like, I was not making any noise. I was just in my seat, but the tears would just roll and I could not contain it. And I was like, oh God, what is going on? But I recognized that they really had touched my life, even though we didn't closely connect. So there's relationships in which you can really glean from people. They just show you things a different way, and they really impact your life or touch your life in some way. And then there's a season, right? And so they need to move on. And you need to know when that happens, you're going to be okay. When they need to move on, you're going to be okay. And there's something that you can then use from what they've given to you and imparted into you to then carry on a legacy of whatever the qualities that you had gleaned from them or that really touched your life, right? Um, and it's important when you do have to part ways, just to know that you can do so respectfully. Even if you have a relationship where there's a bit of tension and there's, been some difficulties, know how to apologize, know how to respectfully say things and really honor those people. Because at the heart of everything, when we really think about how we do life, there's a human there, and their humanness matters, right? And I learned that when you recognize the human, then you can connect on a deeper level with the needs of that person. You can connect on a deeper level with their purpose. And when you do that, you're not bothered by the little things anymore, because now I really need to serve this person in the capacity that I can. But I can also put up really healthy boundaries. I know my limits. I know what I can give. And one example of healthy boundaries is, like, I know I'm an introvert. I cannot spend endless hours within a social environment or be at a party and not know when to go. Like, that is not me. You are not going to find me there past 10 o'clock. Like, there is a limit, and there's a clear limit that I just uphold, because I know that if I allow these boundaries to fall, I'm really going to suffer. Like, I collapse physically, I collapse mentally. And so, yeah, I think honor who you are, allow the other person to be who they are, respectfully know how to do relationship and how to say the hard things, but have the hard conversations. Do not neglect those, because they will not, if you don't have those hard conversations, they are the stumbling blocks to your relationship being all that it can be. And then respectfully just know when the time is up, how to release those people and how to bless them. There are seasons, don't try and make it work just because you've known this person forever. Like it's so detrimental to your future. It really is. A lot of people who try and hold on, and you just know then that that's a crutch. That's a crutch you need to hold on to, and you have not learned how to be independent. So if a person and there are people that you will hold on to, but they also need to know or want to be there, right?
Mm,
They'll desire to be with you and do the thing that you do. But when a person is needing to be released, just release them and honor them in that.
mm, mm. Wow, thank you so much, Juana. I think I'm just gonna stop it there because it was so good and you wrapped it up so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.